Hello and welcome to Focus On. We're joined by the MTN Group CEO, Ralph Mupita. Thank you so much for joining us, Ralph.
Pleasure.
Let's just start off with the origin story in the 90s, in 1994, when South Africa becomes a democracy, and MTN, a small-time operator, today serving millions across, I believe, 16 markets.
Yeah.
What do you take, what stands out from this journey for you, Ralph, and how do you see that defining or shaping MTN's current vision and purpose in Africa?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. As MTN, we're celebrating an important milestone of having achieved over 300 million customers served as of the end of September 2025. And it's both delight and a privilege for myself and my colleagues at MTN and broader stakeholders who have enabled us to be able to get to this milestone and obviously, importantly, the customers who trust us with the service. But as you say, MTN has humble beginnings that started at the dawn of South Africa's democracy. And I understand that one of the very early actions of the then President Nelson Mandela was to issue 2 new mobile licenses in a post-apartheid South Africa. And so in June of 1994, a few months after South Africa had gained its independence, the first voice call was made. And the networks then were voice-centric. The only service that you could make was to call somebody. And I guess today we look at that and wonder, how was that at all possible? So from those humble beginnings in 1994, we built out a network starting to serve South Africans more generally, South Africans who had never had access to telecommunications. There weren't enough fixed lines then. MTN, stretched its wings, and the first market it entered was actually Rwanda, where we are today. So Rwanda has a very important part of MTN's history. Is the first market we ventured beyond the borders of South Africa. And I guess the rest is history. We went into Uganda, went into Eswatini, 2002, we went into Nigeria and so forth. So, those were the very humble beginnings. Some of the key, milestones, as I said, the 1994 is a very voice-centric point in the history of this company.
Seems archaic.
It seems archaic because you're probably doing lots of WhatsApp calling, etc. You don't use your GSM voice connection anymore. But, the other milestone is the advent of probably the iPhone in 2007 and 2008. The smartphone coming on and having a computer in your phone, which is basically what the first smartphone was, put out as kind of mobile computing power within your pocket. That created the start of the kind of the data-centric era that we've been through 2008 and probably pretty much to 2022, where you could argue 2023 is the start of the AI era. So there have been a few milestones along the way. We've also innovated a lot as MTN. We're kind of a humble organization, but at times like this, we need to talk about what you've done. I think MTN was the forefront of what was then seen as an innovation. Please call me, where you could send a message to a loved one who had no airtime balance, and then they could then call you to have a conversation. Now, today we'll look at that and say, well, that wasn't fantastic. But that brought a lot of people into communication. Prepaid, the model, the commercial model was you must pay for your service, after a particular period of time. So only wealthy people were able to afford. But we democratized prepaid solutions across Africa. So we're proud of that part of our history of being able to understand the African people and communities and to deliver those services. We partook in the other revolution, which is the mobile money revolution, started mobile money operations in about 2009. And, today we sit with 300 million customers served for broad telecommunications. But for our mobile money fintech business, we're at about 64 million odd. And so These are people who ordinarily would not have access to financial services. So it's been 3 decades of innovation, of deeply understanding our customers and understanding how do we serve them best. And also, 3 decades of impact. The mobile has been a revolution across Africa. And I believe that it is the foundation for the next 30 years of socioeconomic progress across Africa.
Well, again, congratulations with the 300 million customers on the continent. What lies ahead then? Because clearly there were challenges identified within the market, within the capacity of the market with respect to the products you were offering. What do you see today that would make MTN go for the next 300 million?
Significant amount of Africans are still not connected, or they're still not engaged or using the internet, so we speak. And I think the GSMA, who are our hosts at this conference, their point of view is that 2/3 of people in sub-Saharan Africa are still not using the internet regularly, and so it creates an enormous opportunity for us as we look ahead. And we see tremendous opportunities. I think the thing is to take a bit of a stock of where we are today, and a lot of progress has been made to ensure as many Africans are covered by mobile networks. And I think the latest numbers would say to us 91% of Africans are covered in some form or fashion by mobile networks, 3G, 4G, 5G. But we have a view that no African must be left behind. So the gaps of coverage, people who are in areas where there's no connectivity, I think that's an opportunity where we partner with low Earth orbit satellite systems and find ways to work together with these so-called, the likes of the Starlinks and the others, absolutely, that we find ways to close fully that coverage gap. As I said, the big issue we face today is the so-called usage gap. How can people use the internet a lot more? And I think they are
the customers, and as opposed to building the infrastructure. So this is the major jump in the past 30 years then.
100%. So the infrastructure has been built largely. There's more to build. And the issue about this industry is, people don't use less data. They continue to use more. So we find across our markets that we have annual growth in usage, the daily usage that you and I would use, that grows 30% plus. So we have to build more capacity in our networks to take on this additional, data traffic and load. So just to keep our existing customers happy, the network capacity has to grow 20 to 30% every single year, and that costs money. So where we are today, I think it's about ensuring that, we fill the space on the customers who don't have coverage. But there are 3 big things today. These are today's problems, not the next 5 to 10 years. But today's problems are handsets and devices. Africans can't afford a $150 smartphone. They can afford 20 to 30. What we, as the group of the 6 largest operators, are talking about is we're going to go back to the OEMs who make the phones you and I use and say, hang on, we think we can place an order of X, but this is the price point, here are the specs that we have. So actually today we've announced this handset initiative as one of our key call-outs from this conference to say we're calling out the original equipment manufacturers to look at our spec and say, can you deliver these phones at $20 to $30 price points? So I think that's one. And because the moment you have a device in front of an African, whether they're in a peri-urban, urban or rural setting, you're giving them power. You are bringing the world to them. And we can start solutioning. Our call out as an industry, and I sit here with 2 hats, one as CEO of MTN, but also as the deputy chair of the GSMA, is that the digital economies have properly constructed digital economies, properly invested digital economies, have a very powerful transformative effect. We see significant opportunities We think that there's a big opportunity in home. So we think the home business, the next decade or so, can be as big as the current business we have today. We have an ambition to, be the main supplier of home connectivity across Africa. We're just at the very beginning. We think there are big enterprise opportunities on the continent. We're scratching the surfaces of being able to bring the technologies to some of the enterprises that we serve. Think about oil and gas, think about logistics, think about mining, think about agriculture, education, healthcare. These are enterprises that are going to benefit from the big shifts in technology. Fintech, we built a big fintech business over the last 16 years or so, and we're thinking about the next wave of fintech 2.0, framing and thinking about what is that opportunity going to look like in the future. Somewhere along that way, we're going to, be embracing stable coins as forms of remittance and other forms as regulation, comes through. AI is a big topic and thematic that we're all engaged in. And as a foundational technology, we don't even know, the very basic use cases that are going to be embedded. When electricity was first came through, no one really knew what electricity was going to be used for. But for us, it's such a basic. And I think AI and the various forms of it are going to transform the societies globally, and Africa won't be left behind as you move from, kind of single task AI to generative AI, artificial general intelligence, and super intelligence. All of these things are going to be in the next generation realities. So we as MTN, in providing the digital infrastructure and the services, will play our part in that transformation. So that's where we believe our next 100 million plus customers will come from.
Right. When it comes to the continent, Africa's digital transformation, MTN has been a key and has played a key role, along with other, of course, telecom providers. How do you see, this will be my last question, what do you see is MTN's role now going forward?
Look, we say that Africa is our home, and so we have to be really thinking about solutions that work for the people of our continent. We have a framing internally that says everything we do is about giving Africans dignity, hope, and opportunity. And, situate ourselves in the places, in the positions where we can make a difference. The digital economy, in my view, has the best chance of really accelerating intra-Africa trade and make our borders not real barriers, but creating opportunities for a lady who has built a business of basket goods in Kumasi in Ghana to be able to sell her wares here in Kigali. Without the digital economy, that's almost an impossible task. But it is a very, it's a lived reality today that can happen, enabled by, the digital infrastructure and services that are out there.
Tremendous opportunity just waiting. It's like a massive cake waiting to be eaten, and more positive outcomes to come out of the telecom journey that Africa has taken so far, and to MTN. Once again, Ralph, thank you for joining us.
I appreciate it.
Certainly congratulations.
Thank you.
On the 300 million.
Thank you.
A massive feat indeed.
Thank you.
This is Ralph Mupita, the Group CEO of MTN Group CEO, here on Focus on CNBC Africa with me, Ridhima Shukla.